Welcome to this review of my IBM M122. I've previously shown another 122 key IBM terminal keyboard, my 6110347, but that one is a Model F, while this is a Model M. They're both known as Battleship keyboards, so the Model F and Model M battleships, but there's another model of 122 key Model M around, which is this one. It's slightly smaller, so I call it a battle cruiser to distinguish the two, although some people use the term interchangeably. I got both of these at the recycling center for 50p each, which is a nice deal. I paid a lot more for the F122, which I bought on Desk Authority, but I think that was definitely worth the money. I love that thing to bits. Even though I got the M battleship in the UK, it was, as you can see from the label, made in the Netherlands, which is kinda ironic because Dutch Model M's were made in the UK. Kinda appropriate for one of my first videos back home though. Anyway, in this review I'll mostly be looking at the differences between the two battleships, while I'll show the differences between the two M's in the video of this board when that comes out further down the line. The thing is, they look pretty much identical from above, but they're very different underneath, which is what I'll be showing in this review. I'll also show you how to tell them apart, because often people tend to get them confused, and they end up with an M122 even though they wanted an F122. The easiest way to tell them apart purely visually is by the construction, because the M122 is built like a Model M, and the F122 is built like a Model F. I know that might sound obvious, but really there's a big difference. The M122 has a tough, thick PVC case, just like the Model M. It's a very resilient plastic that doesn't yellow, and it's slightly flexible, which means it doesn't shatter as easily as the plastic on the F case does. Inside is a steel backplate which adds massive weight, partly because of the sheer size of the keyboard. As with other IBM keyboards, it's bent to give the keycaps a curved profile. All this brings it to a total of 2.7 kilos, which is ridiculously heavy. The F122, meanwhile, has an identical looking thick plastic uppercase, but it's made of a much harder and more brittle plastic. They both use the old square silver metal badge, and I just noticed that the one on the M122 seems to be completely new because there's the protective plastic still over it. Yeah, new old stock metal badge. The biggest difference is the bottom case, which isn't plastic like on the M122, but a colossal steel pan in which the whole keyboard sits. And of course, on the inside it has a steel backplate as well, and even the barrel plate is steel. If that sounds heavy, you're right, it's a full 4 kilos, making it the second heaviest keyboard I have at the moment. I mean, the M122 has the build quality of an absolute tank, way above what you'd find on most keyboards, but the F122 really makes its nickname felt, the Battleship. This back panel is also the best way to tell them apart, by the way. If it's plastic, it's an M. If it's black metal, it's an F. The design of the feet is also different. The M122 uses Model M style flip-out feet. They're a little bit longer than those on the normal M, but they're very comparable anyway. They don't really grip the desk very well though, so if it wasn't for the rubber pads at the bottom as well as the keyboard's enormous weight, it would just go all over the place. The F122 uses, typical, enormous 2-part flip-out feet which you control using these neat little push discs here at the side. They're an excellent design, extremely sturdy and adjustable, but even the smallest foot lifts it up much more than on the M122, and it gives it a rather unworkable angle. Note that these feet can also appear on M122, so don't use this as an indicator. Look at the back panel instead. The labels are also different. I previously showed the M122 label, which is rather massive but more like the normal M label, while the F122 uses the older barcode label that you can also find on the oldest M's. They both use a 240 degree 5-pin DIN connector, although the F's one has a steel ring around it. And they both run off of set 3 scan codes, meaning you'll require a special converter to get this to work with modern computers. There are commercial Saurus converters available which can do this for you, but I found something strange with them, and this goes for both keyboards. This key, where hash normally goes, and this key don't send any scan codes at all, and neither do these 10 keys on the left. I've been told you can still bind them, but it works a little differently. There's also no print screen button, which is kind of annoying, so I programmed that onto my Focus macro pad. The keycaps on both models are pretty much the same, although the Model M could come with flat normal keycaps like this, as well as the stepped keycaps that are on the F122. But they're both two-part caps like you'd find on the Model M, thick, made out of PBT and with dye-sublimed lettering. Nice. Of course, the big difference with a normal M is that being a terminal keyboard, you get weird legends and positions like field exit, roll keys, and enter key here, and there's a bunch of blanks even. The caps on both of them have weird legends, and they could come with different sets depending on what system they were used on, so one battleship's caps aren't the same as the others. Unfortunately, neither of mine have the cool old insert and delete caps. They have back tab and return keys instead, while ironically my black badge Model M does have them, which is somewhat of an anomaly. I like the weird layout in caps though. I like the way it confuses other people when they see it. And of course the biggest practical difference is the switches. The M122 uses membrane-driven buckling springs, while the F122 uses capacitive buckling springs. You can't visually tell them apart, but the capacitive ones in the F122 feel much better, cleaner, crisper, and just nicer. It's clear that of the two, you definitely want the F, which is why people who accidentally buy an M122 instead tend to be disappointed. The sound is easily distinguished though, because Model Fs have a much more high-pitched, pingy sound than Ms. Listen to this. The M122 switches feel a little stiffer, although they're still really nice. There's almost nothing that feels nicer than a real F in my opinion. So, conclusions. Well, it's a great keyboard, very well built, and with that classic Model M key feel and sound. It's for anyone who wants a buckling spring keyboard with some real presence to it. They tend to go for less than a normal M as well, although you'll need to either buy or make a converter for it, obviously. Compared to the Model F version, or really any Model F version, it just doesn't stand up though. That's it for this review. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.